Wow. Also, you said you came into the Nation of Islam in 1960,
Yes.
and Brother Clarence came into the Nation of Islam in 1960, according to many different reports. And he stayed in the Nation of Islam until late 63 or either early 64, depending on which source you believe. Um, what do you feel were the reasons that he left the temple? Because in my studies, as far as my research as it relates to the book, I've interviewed a few Muslim brothers and sisters in the temple. I interviewed his wife. I interviewed some five percenters. I interviewed the elders of the 5% community that started with Brother Clarence from the temple out into the streets of Harlem. And everybody basically has given me a different reason. You
Okay.
know, no reason is the same. So, from your perspective, what were the reasons that he left the temple?
Well, it's not my perspective, it's what I was told by the
Okay.
captain of the FOI. The captain of the FOI told me, because we were questioning what Clarence was doing, because one particular time when Malcolm was actually sit down, he was sit down after February the 21st, 1964. He was actually sit down. He was suspended from his post, but he still had it on about December the 3rd. Sunday was the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. December the 3rd, 1963. He was suspended from his post because he made a public statement about the death of Kennedy at the December the 1st, 1963 Manhattan Center program. And when Malcolm was under this 90-day suspension from his post, still the minister of Mosque number 7, he violated that and he was out. And we got a report about Clarence on 125th Street selling all of his back papers, and he was not in the mosque. So I asked the captain, and the captain told me that he had another incident with his wife. Her name is
Dora.
I said Dorothy in one of my tapes, I believe, but Dora and him had an incident, and the captain said I had to dismiss it. This is what Captain Shaw told me that I repeated over and over again in my talks on the 5%. And it was his second incident, which meant that he got more time than the first time. Now, if you interview other people, they may give you a perspective. My perspective comes from what was said by Captain Yusuf Shah. I didn't write the reports. I was not an investigator. I didn't talk to Clarence about it. But this is what was told to me by Captain Yusuf Shah.
Did you
And
ever have a
the brothers who could, most of them who could verify it, one of them lived here in Atlanta, Georgia, where we are now, and he passed away, was Richard Adex, because he was an assistant lieutenant at that time, and Clarence Sevenex, who was our first lieutenant, could have verified it through those two brothers. And I'm trying to think whoever else is living that could verify it, probably Captain Amina Rasul, who was Clotel X at the time. She lives in South Carolina, but being that it was involving a sister and a husband, she may be able to recall. She's up in age. But somebody who was one of the officials at that time, okay? I was an assistant minister, but I wasn't involved in the investigation of any violation of rules or regulations in the mosque at that time. So that's what I was told. And Shaw, in my opinion, had no reason to tell other than the truth about Clarence. I mean, he just didn't have that reason. He had problems with what Clarence was doing because if he wanted to get papers, you know, we don't have no problem with brothers who are out selling papers, but we did have a problem sometime with brothers selling back papers to our people, and the people complaining to us, I brought a paper and the paper was 2 months old from one of your brothers. We used to have this complaint in the 60s, okay? And brothers had to try to sell their papers, so Shaw's answer to that is whenever you're selling a paper and it's a back paper, let the people know that this is an old edition, but there's a lot of information in it. And they felt that Clarence was not doing that.
right? And I think to a statement you just made, when I interviewed different people, I think everybody was sincere in their answers, but for whatever reason, all of the different accounts that they gave conflicted with one another. Like I interviewed Sister Dora 3X Smith, Brother Clarence 13X wife, and I asked her about, you know, this alleged incident, whether it ever happened. And she's like, well, of all the things my husband would ever did anything, he would have never ever hit me. That's one thing he never ever did because of the respect and the reverence that he had for women, I guess that he got from his mother. So I don't deny that account that came from Captain Yusuf Shah, as I don't deny the other accounts that brothers and sisters have given, including 5%ers, including family members. But everybody has given a different account for whatever reason. Now, to that, I do have a theory. And you may have just shot a hole in that theory, because my theory was that when he left the temple, I don't think he was a notable or a noted figure in the temple, as if you would miss Brother Clarence after he was expelled, after he left on his own accord. So afterwards, as time passed on, he became this figure in New York City that was the head of a movement that people attempted to recollect exactly what happened. And I think that's why the different various accounts. So that's kind of one of the things that's still left out there, because everybody has a different account. Right. But I think the good thing is that you verified that you got that information directly from Captain Yusuf Shah, who surely enough was the captain over number 7. But again, it's just a different account versus what others have given. But speaking in line with that, so when Brother Clarence left Temple number 7, he went back out into the Harlem community. And only a short time passed before he started teaching some of the young brothers in the neighborhood. And the main thing that he did was he taught them to study and master and be able to recite the supreme wisdom of the Nation of Islam, which was a taboo in the Muslim community at the time, because those lessons to this very day are only for registered Muslims only for those people who receive their X. So what I want to ask you is, when he started teaching the lessons and it came to the attention of the Nation of Islam, did they have a problem with brother for doing that? Was there animosity? Did anything occur as a result? Do you recollect any of that?
Absolutely. The lessons given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad at that time were for the internal use. And we felt that these were, it's like in the Masonic order, these were our internal business, and it's not shared with the general public in such way, and that he was violating things in the nation. And brothers and sisters had a problem with what he was doing. There's no doubt about it. And then he was giving it to children, very young children, who didn't have a level of understanding about the lessons. And if you don't have that level of understanding, then it could cause you to do things by what is written in those lessons that may not be, proper. And so we had a problem with it because there was nobody to explain, and we didn't know how deep Clarence 13X's knowledge of the lessons and the hidden meaning behind some of the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us. So there was problems with that. Nobody agreed, well, it's good what Brother Clarence is doing, and let him go on because he's going to spread this among young people. Nobody agreed like that within the Nation of Islam. So yes, there was a disagreement about it.